Let's bring in former GOP national spokeswoman Elizabeth Pipko, along with conservator, founder, and CEO Jamie Lee Franklin. Thank you both for coming on. Jamie, to you first. I'm going to play some sound from General Keith Kellogg about Ukraine's attack on Russia. He said this.
And I'm telling you, the risk levels are going way up. I mean, what happened this weekend, people have to understand in the national security space, when you attack an opponent's part of their national survival system, which is their triad, the nuclear triad, that means your risk level goes up because you don't know what the other side's going to do.
Kind of fascinating, Jamie, because you had President Trump saying today that he thought his call with Vladimir Putin went very well, but he also thinks that Putin wants to respond to Ukraine's attack. Seems like the peace process may be slowing down, or what do you think about this?
I mean, there's no doubt this is a really tough situation. It doesn't look like Zelensky or Putin want to budge on this. But I have to commend President Trump because ever since he got into office, he's been on the phone with these men negotiating day in and day out. And he's been incredibly transparent about where the negotiations stand. And this is a sharp contrast to the Biden administration. I don't think President Biden got on the phone with Putin once throughout his entire administration. And so I think President Trump is going to work day in and day out to get this solved, and I have my faith in him that he's going to bring peace back to this earth.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's slow going, but there does appear to be an open channel, and that's always good news. Elizabeth Pipko, to you first. On X, Marsha Blackburn, the senator, posted the following, quoting here, "A Biden-appointed federal judge is issuing an order that blocks the Trump administration from deporting the wife and 5 children of the Boulder terror suspect. This has gotten completely out of hand. We, the people, did not elect activist judges to make these decisions." I mean, we have seen this, Elizabeth, again and again and again during the past 3.5 months. Is she right when she posts that?
You know, I think she's certainly right. I think a lot of Americans share the sentiment. I have 2 thoughts on this. Number one, we have an incredible system here, right? The greatest in the world. And it's one of the reasons I love this country so much and why I respect so much when President Trump goes out and says he respects these decisions despite the fact that he thinks that they are wrong. He respects exactly what the courts are doing and wants to follow their orders. I believe this is going to be overturned on appeal anyway, but the fact is the American people can see this and they should remember elections have consequences because it's not just about the person you put into the Oval Office, it's about the decisions and the appointments that they get to make as well. They have the power to make life-altering choices, and that's why voting and being involved is so important.
Yeah. Now to the alleged Biden cover-up, including the auto pen. Here's what James Comer had to say.
We're going to see if these executive orders were really authorized by the president or if this was being done unilaterally by some unnamed bureaucrats. Hopefully we'll get the truth to the American people.
Hopefully we'll get the truth, Jamie. The question is, will they? I mean, it's just so disappointing when you keep hearing about hearings, right? And you want some solid action. What do you think about this?
We need a full congressional investigation into this. Good on James Comer. We need Biden aides on the record under oath so we can expose the lies that they peddled to the American people. And it's funny, I find that situation particularly ironic because I worked in the first Trump White House, and I'll never forget when I left my post there, this whole Trump Accountability Project came out. And I don't know if your viewers remember this, but it was a big story at the time where Democratic staffers were listing Trump people who worked in the White House and trying to blackball them. So I'm wondering right now, are we going to get a Biden Accountability Project where these same people are going to come and list the people who were involved in this cover-up? Somehow, I doubt that.
Yeah. Meantime, I want to get your take, Elizabeth Pipko, on the breaking news here, the travel ban 2.0. The 2018 Supreme Court upheld a similar travel ban, but the president's right on this, Elizabeth. We just can't let people into this country that we don't have a way of vetting.
I don't see how anyone could have a problem with this, right? The fact is this comes on the heels of that horrific anti-Semitic attack in Boulder, Colorado, where a Holocaust survivor was burned. Thank God that she's alive. The fact is that should never happen in America, and it would not have happened if the Biden administration followed the laws of this country. The fact is everyone in this country should be grateful for Donald Trump and grateful for an administration that wants to put their health and their safety first, because the people of this country must come first. Otherwise, we don't have a country to begin with.
Yeah. Elizabeth and Jamie, I want you both to know I was going to wear a black suit. I would have fit in so good.
We're twinning.
With you two. Thank you. Thank you both.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.